By the way, you've already set up your Thursday week.
There's like four. What's that?
No,
I didn't the other day. Everybody knows that. I thought that.
No?
But I wish I
So we have 3 minutes until we start, and these are live broadcasts, on YouTube, not Facebook Live, YouTube. And Bridget, correct me if I'm wrong, however many people watch it live, we get pretty much exponential. People watch the taped version over the next week or two.
Correct.
So before we start, I'll say this off the cuff from 2 minutes ago. Is this what happens on Sunday? Is this a family dinner? Is this, all right. And I mean, how big is your table at your house?
Pretty big.
Can you seat like 20? I love it. And I'm assuming that it's not corned beef and cabbage for Sunday dinner. Super. All righty.
Tom, if you attend, you sit at the kid table though.
Yeah, I don't get to attend to anything. I don't get invited to meetings, I don't get invited to events. John, what do you think?
I'm silent on that.
Okay.
Yes.
Such an exciting night.
This is, I'll tell you, this is a great night. I've really been looking forward to this.
I was expecting this. I remember having a conversation with you at the end of the year, like, we should, by the end of the year, or like December, January, we might know.
Chris, who was the artist, what a long, strange trip it's been.
Yep.
Oh, it's today.
Well, here we are.
Can I? All right, well, I've gotten the cue. We'll welcome everybody to the Thursday, June 13, 2024 Webster Town Board Workshop. Tonight we have two agenda items. The first one is a presentation and an update of the restaurant building at Sandbar Park. So I'm going to hand the baton off to Chris Bilo, who's our Parks and Rec Commissioner, along with Jared Miller and Rory Fitzpatrick, who are with Campus Construction Management, who have been pretty much overseeing everything over the Sandbar Park. So, gentlemen.
All right. Obviously, thank you for giving us the opportunity to kind of come in tonight, give everybody an update on what's gone on in regards to the restaurant bar down at Sandbar Park. I know there's been a lot of discussion, questions that people have been having. We felt it was, at this time, that it was probably wise for us to come before the town board, kind of give an update as to what things have been going on for the last several months, especially after the town board gave the approval back in March to move forward with Passero in campus in regards to the design component for the restaurants at Sandbar Park. So tonight, I'm going to give a brief orientation or an update. If there's questions, obviously, feel free to ask. We will bring up one of our guest speakers here shortly, so you'll be able to actually hear from the restaurateur directly. Yeah, okay. So, 23, if you remember, early in 23, we reached back out to the expression of interest that was originally done to see if there were any potential restaurateurs who were interested in operating the restaurant operation down at Sandbar Park. We actually had a pretty good response from this, what I'll call second expression of interest or reopening of the expression of interest. We sat down, with a couple of restaurateurs, two to be specific, kind of got their vision, their thoughts, some of the things that they were planning or hoping they could do in that location. We did that for about 3 months. By the time we got into March, One of the restaurateurs had stepped away. It wasn't something that they wanted to proceed with. So we were then dealing with one restaurateur that we felt at that time kind of met everything that the community had expressed from an interest standpoint and, what they wanted to see from a facility down there, and what kind of a service and type of a facility they wanted to have at the location. So we were fortunate that that restaurateur worked with us through that process, which at times was a little lengthy and did take some time in discussion and kind of the planning process. But the town has been lucky since about March, April of '23, been able to work solely with the Fantuzzo Family Brands and their management team to be able to go through the process of not only the design but also just making sure that, again, we meet the community needs for what type of facility has been shown for down there, or requested for down there. So I know everybody has been asking, who the restaurateur is and who's going to be taking that space up. Obviously, as you can see on the slide, the Fantuzzo Family Brands, they've stepped forward and they've been a very good partner for us through this process, and we'll get Kayla up here in just a minute to kind of be able to share some visions from their side. One thing I do want to go through is the sort of the schedule of how we've got to where we were. And I'll kind of move forward to November when we really realized that this was something from the Fantuzzo side that we wanted to move forward with. And they were obviously willing to go along with us on the various steps, etc. So when we got to the fall of last year, November is when we actually submitted that application to the various state agencies to be able to build and construct up to a 2,400 square foot restaurant bar. As those of you that recall, this building was not part of phase one from a permitting standpoint, so we basically had to begin this from anew. So we did that in November of '23. Took about 4 months, like that process does, takes a little bit of time. It took about 4 months for all the various agencies to either waive their involvement or to give their approval. So we received all of those approvals by about mid-February of this past year, or of '24. So about middle of the month, we received the final, I'll say, thumbs up from the DEC. So that kind of moved us forward. Once we got that, we knew we were good to go from up to a 2,400 square foot facility, which for those of you that have been to that park, I've had numerous conversations with people. That location is actually the area that is designated for the restaurant bar, which is where the Bayside used to be. That area is actually slightly larger than 2,400 square feet, as it includes some planting areas and some overspill area. I've had a number of people that didn't think that space was large enough, but it actually is larger than the pre-existing site, and it is easily to be able to accommodate, again, that 2,400 square foot facility. In March, as Supervisor mentioned, early March, there was a presentation to the town board by Campus and Passrow. Passrow from an engineering standpoint, design services, Campus from an overall construction management. They did a presentation. Just made sense for both of those agencies to be involved in this process, as obviously they were very involved in phase one of the project down at Sandbar Park. So they did their presentation in early March. The following week, town board approved the agreement for the town to enter into agreement with them for us to be able to go into the design phase. So that was on a Thursday night, and the following Monday, we began discussions from a design phase. Again, that was the town, Passrow Campus, and Fantuzzo management team. So we began that in early April. We began meeting bi-weekly basis to be able to go over design concepts and what we'd like to see down there, et cetera. So we've actually ended up with, I think it was 4 meetings, with a 5th this coming week, where we've gone over different revisions and plans or thoughts and ideas, which brings us to where we are now at the end of that timeline. We're at the design phases I'll say getting close to being done. It's not 100%, but it's pretty close. That's why we thought it made sense to be able to get before the town board tonight, kind of get this out there, make sure everybody is following along and understands where we've been with this process. It's taken a little bit of time, but I think we've done a lot of work in these months, both on the town side, campus and Password, but also on the Fantuzo. Their management team have been very involved in this process. So, so that takes us into where we are from an important date standpoint. Everybody's heard enough of me now, so I think what I might do is I'll ask Kayla from the management team of Fantuzo Family Brands, come on up. I know she's got a few things she just wants to go over. It again, we thought it'd be best if the board hears it directly from this group. So with that being said, Kayla, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having us tonight. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Kayla Morita, president of Fantuzo Family Brands. And after the long anticipated wait, I'm thrilled to be here tonight to let you know how excited we are to be a part of the Sandbar Park revitalization. Personally, I have over 20 years of experience in the restaurant industry, and I work with a team of professionals that have over 200 years of combined restaurant experience. Our goal is to bring something truly special to Webster, where life is worth living. I've worked with several towns in my 13 years working for this family-owned company, and working with you, Tom, and Chris, and your team has been truly amazing. It's been a long time coming to get to where we are today, but I can confidently say that we are so excited for what's to come at the Bay. Lots of fun, new ideas, and even some ideas to tie in the past. I hope the Webster residents that are here this evening, that may be watching, or those that will find out soon, are ready for good food, good times, and amazing memories. At this time, I'd be happy to answer any questions that the town board members may have.
And I don't know who's moving, isn't there a couple slides that,
Yeah.
Kelly, who's moving?
I'll get into it. So, you know what, Kayla, the town board, if you guys have some questions, I'll bring it back up after we go through the slideshow, those, and then that may spur some additional questions, and we'll do it all at once.
I think so, because the visual of what the
Exactly.
design looks like now probably is spur questions.
Yeah. That's a
Thank you.
nice segue for me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Kevin. So from a design concept, obviously, as I stated, and it's been stated numerous times, the building itself has a maximum square footage of 2,400 square feet. The idea, the thought process is to maximize, obviously, both views of both the bay as well as the lake. So as we've gone through these design changes and these design concepts, trying to take into account also the features that are currently within the park, so things like the restroom that was installed this year, the color of that facility along with shade structure, those kind of concepts bring in the color schemes into this building along with meeting some of the interest or the desires of the restaurateur to keep this as a waterfront location of sort of as I've heard a number of times, a beachy theme, to be able to have that sort of look at that image. So that first picture is actually looking from the north side, so it's like you're standing out on Lake Road. Obviously, these are designed and conceptual plans, so a little bit skewed in regards to where blacktop might be, et cetera. But I think it gives you a pretty good idea of how the front of the building will look. Parking, et cetera, is obviously to the west side, along with some on-street parking. The main parking lot is to the west side. As you go to the back side, so now we're standing on along the edge of the bay, looking at the back of the building. This view obviously shows that center area is actually an open window type of access to the bar, so there'll be outdoor seating for access to the bar. Obviously, this will be where you'll see tables, chairs, booths, et cetera, or dining seating is out in this area. And then the stairs to the west that lead to the rooftop deck. Rooftop deck does have dining seating, so there's actual views to the lake side as well as the bay. So it's obviously a very, very picturesque setting to be able to have, to the one side, be able to see around the Quay Bay and all the activity that's taking place there. And then to the north side, having lake views, something that I think really will make this facility very unique and special for that location.
Is there gonna be seats, like, can I see the outdoor seating in that deck area, in the second floor, is there seating in there as well?
Yes, so that,
Not inside.
Inside?
No,
Yes, inside.
not inside.
Okay.
Yeah, that, what I'll call the cupola area up
It's
on
more
top,
of a design feature?
that's actually some of the air handling unit, there's
I
some
see.
storage that's up there, but it's really designed more for mechanical.
I see.
Okay, I'll obviously come back to that if people have other questions. Last slide is the one that, where we are now and where we need to be here coming up. So as I've shared numerous times at our meetings, we've got through the design phase, which is obviously was the critical part. Being able to go through and get a design that meets both for the restaurateur as well as the town facility that works. That was the most critical part, so now we can get into the cost estimates, and that's where I'll look to my left, where campus now comes in a bit more heavily in regards to being involved with that process for us. My hope is that in the next 7 to 10 days, we'll begin the process between the town, sitting down with the Bantuzo team, their management team, to be able to work off some of the estimates that campus is working up right now. That'll give us the parameters of how we build the agreement moving forward. As we've known all along, this agreement's a 15-year agreement for any bond that we do take out for this. It's a maximum of 15 years, unlike some of the other town bonds where they can go up to 30 because of the public-privates relationship for this bond. We know it's a max 15 years, so that's going to be sort of our driving factor of how we pay that bond back, and that's what I'll say is the next hurdle for the town to work with the management team of Bantuzo to be able to come up with an agreement that solidifies paying back that bond over that course of the time. Hopefully, if everything goes according to the way we've sort of scheduled this out, we'll be looking to go to bid sometime this fall with construction starting and an opening in '25.
It's awesome.
I believe that was my last slide. So now, Kayla, if you want to come back up, if they have specific questions for you, but does the town board have questions that for me, for Kayla, for Jared?
I have a question about the format of the restaurant. Is it gonna be more akin to what was there and the type of menu that was there, or something that's like, I don't know, the other Salvatore's restaurant on Bay Road, for example?
It will be a completely new concept. Some of what was there to just kind of tie in the past, but also a lot of new fun ideas that we've been developing right now.
That's wonderful. Wonderful to hear.
I will say too, and I'll add to that, Jennifer, that as part of this process that we've been going through, there's been a lot of discussions about how if the town has activities and things that they would like to do now that that park is, again, what I'll call a destination location for this town, very open to that, the opportunity to be able to work with the restaurateur to be able to provide, whether it's music or whether it's food or whatever it might be, but to be able to have that relationship has been very nice to be able to, when we have those discussions, have that option available.
It's great, because there's so many possibilities of how this could be used, and it's really very exciting.
Jamie?
Congratulations, and also Sandy's a long way, thank you for choosing us as well. And also too, I know what the ADA is, you guys do compliance to that, right? So.
Everything will be ADA compliant.
Okay.
Well, I'm very, very excited also. Looking forward to the build out and also the menu. Italian food is the best, by far.
Thank you.
That's coming from an Irishman. So it'll be interesting when the numbers get crunched. I'll be interested in seeing those.
Yeah, we've known, and I've shared with the supervisor in a number of meetings that, that this sort of a process that we're going through. I know for some people, they want this to go a little quicker, but obviously we want to make sure we do this correctly and we're doing this the right way. And again, these guys have been fantastic, that they've been, I'll say, very patient with us and willing to work as we go through this, but we knew that this was sort of our next process.
And I gotta say along those lines, Chris, is that, you know, I've been very impressed with the whole team at Fentuso family brands. And I've known some of them for my whole adult life and even my kid life, I guess, having gone to high school with Sam's brother Chuck. So I was always appreciative during this process that you didn't kill the messenger of Chris and myself in the town, that private and how things move along in private are very different than how things move along in the government process. It's been something that I've struggled with coming over from private to the government. It's a snail's pace. And you've been very gracious about that. Once we explained it to you, you're like, okay, I guess I understand. And also, the money you've invested. You know, when Chris says the design, what you just saw up on the screen is really a collaboration of Passero's architect division, but the Fentuso family brands architects. They had to work together because obviously, you know, we can't just go off on our own as a town and say, okay, we'll figure out a building and you'll just like it. That doesn't make any sense. So that's a big leap of faith on Fentuso family brands to invest that kind of money when there was no guarantee that we were going to get to an end resolution that we're getting closer to as we sit here today. This is a very big milestone event today. And Chris, I'm glad you put the timeline out there because the town started investing money in this project really going back to 2022 when campus, Jared, you were at the table as we were doing design and cost estimates of a 2,400 square foot single-story building. So when that didn't work out, some of those concepts and things were able to be brought over to this, even though it is very different because you have the second-story roof. But I mean, the town was spending money back then with campus on trying to move this forward. And so, yeah, no, I'm like I said, this is very exciting, and I've been looking forward to this night. Kayla, did you think you were going to sit up there and get 75 questions?
Yeah, no, you guys scared me slightly, but I'm really excited to be here. I thought it was like probably the lifetime to get here, but we're so excited. We can't wait to make you guys proud and I really
Well,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
I think it's interesting that because we've all been dinged with questions on when's it gonna happen, everybody's just been jonesing for this announcement. And like, as you said, government moves slowly, but people think because they haven't heard anything, that we haven't been doing anything either. So it's important to show that timeline and show the commitment on both sides where we've been working through the process. And I've always said that the process sometimes is onerous, but in the end, we get a better result. So I'm really pleased that we can finally announce this to people because I know they've just been so excited and so anxious to hear what's going to be going on.
And I know what was already said is that obviously, you know, I guess it's like a rock band that goes to a concert and the fans just want them to play their old hits. And my analogy to that is, let's just call it what it is. Sam is an entrepreneur beyond belief. Started his first pizza place, I think, on Wisconsin and Maine, and when you were 18 years old, that's mind-blowing to me. So, you know, he's known as Soccer Sam. He's very involved in soccer and all this. He has pizza places, franchises, that. So it's understandable that people think, oh, it's going to be a pizza parlor. I don't think the community totally understands the entrepreneurial nature of how diversified that business is. And one of the things that's been enjoyable for me working with you the last several months is, you know, Sam, he's like, hey, you know, we're getting into the bar business in certain businesses. He goes, I'm not a bar person, so I hired the talent that's the bar person. And that just permeates throughout your organization, is that he has the foresight to go out and get that kind of expertise that falls outside of making a pizza, let's say. So to me, it was very easy to see that yeah, this restaurant, and I appreciate, John, you said, oh, I can't wait to go down there and eat Italian. I think you'll be very amazed about how it'll be branded and what type of food they serve down there. I don't think you should just jump to the conclusion. I mean, Sam, I'm pretty certain it's not gonna say Salvatore's Pizza on it. I know there's some ideas floating around, some good ones, we'll put it that way. But, I mean, we're very fortunate because I gotta tell you, I mean, this is a homegrown guy and a family business, and not just family, but they're structured where we get this thing built, they've got this for the next 50 years. I don't know if you'll be alive in 50 years, Sam, but you built an organization. It's impressive that how the continuity of it is built and all that, so thank you, appreciate that.
Thank you.
All righty, well, let's not belabor the point. It's dessert, you guys can leave the kitchen table now, or the thank you.
Yeah, thank you all for being here.
Yeah. Well, we have one more item tonight, and it's actually a follow-up to the May 9th Town Board Workshop, where I voted out an idea that kind of, I don't know, I was motivated by what has happened on the planning board and zoning board the last 18 months, where we went from 2 meetings a month to 1 meeting, and it really has been successful, the efficiencies of it. I guess I started thinking, geez, we do this with town board. If we go from potentially 4 meetings a month, first, second, third, fourth Thursdays, and truncate it down to 2 meetings a month, the first and third Thursday of the month. So we came in on the 9th, presented some things to the board. I thought we had a pretty good discussion that night. And I guess I was given my marching orders by the board that we'll go get us some stats so we can get an idea of how long is an average workshop the last 2 years, how long is an average town board regular meeting, and that might help guide us on if we move toward doing 1 or 2 nights a month, when we start the workshop, followed by when we start the regular meeting. So I don't know if it's up on the screen right now, it is?
Yes, it is.
There is the result of the marching orders, with some various verbiage there, and I guess, I think the town board got this email about it yesterday, so I hope, I'll shut my mouth and let you comment, question, and things for that.
Well, it seems to me that we could go to 2 meetings a month. And looks like based upon the duration of the workshops that 6:30 might be the opportune time to start. So I'm definitely in favor of that.
I was surprised that Webster was the only town that met 4 Thursdays a month, and that other towns only met once or twice. I genuinely thought everybody met every week and every single town did things the same way.
I always thought the same thing, but then everybody says to me, you meet every Thursday? They're incredulous that we do. Tom, thanks for doing the research on it and the length of meetings. I knew you'd be on that.
I gotta say that's Bridget and Kim Doyle.
Bridget and Kim, thank you for assisting the supervisor in that and making him look good. I think it makes sense. I think it's a great plan. And I like the thought that you've given to, if we continue with the 7:30 scheduled regular meeting, there are times when we don't have much meat on the bone for a workshop. And that gives us the opportunity to perhaps schedule that a little bit later. It makes sense to me.
I have a question for Charlie. To Penny's point, if we don't have a lengthy agenda for the workshop, can we, ahead of time, change the start time of the workshop from a legal perspective, so long as we give at least 24 hours?
Sure. You know, that's, I think I sent out a memo some time ago about what's really required by law. And there's really not a requirement that you publish an agenda, for example.
Right.
That's something we do, we've always done, it's been our practice, and obviously probably a good idea to continue doing it. But, no, to answer your question, if there's something that comes up that you want to change the agenda, change the entire meeting prior to regular meeting, change it from 6:30 to 7, because
Right.
there's a few things on, or change it just to 7:30, you can do that.
Okay, thank you.
And that, and Charlie, I gleaned from a lot of that was the regular town board meeting is the one that, and we said that they would start at 7:30. We can't start them at 7:25 or 7:20. We really need to start those at 7:30. We can start them a couple minutes late and not be breaking any legalities. But we can't start the regular
Well,
meeting early.
the law says one meeting a month is required.
Yeah.
Okay, just so everybody out there knows, it's one, that's the requirement by law, you have a town board has to be once a month. The town board sets its schedule, if you will, the organizational meeting every week.
Mhm.
So, yeah, if you say 7:30, right, you should be trying to beat the 7:30.
I think the only thing that might fall into an exception on that is if we do set a time for a public hearing, then we have to start the public hearing at the time.
Correct.
It's been-
Well,
It's
that's,
been noticed,
right.
yeah,
Right.
yes, but within the meeting itself.
Well, and that's, whoever the supervisor is has to govern and manage the workshop to end by 7:30.
Right.
Because
Yes.
that's a good point, Betty. It's interesting, when I first floated this out on May 9th, I said, hey, this might be something that we look to going into 25, 7 months out. I've heard enough enthusiasm about it from the town board members and subsequent conversations I've had that, is it something, as I said here, are we open to starting this schematic as early as August?
I am,
I am.
Jenny?
I'm flexible, so it doesn't matter.
Is August, believe it or not, the first and third Thursday is August 1st and 5th. Yeah, August 1st and 15th. I will say, I don't think there's any resolution we need to do, because our board meeting said we are starting our regular town board meetings on the first and third Thursday of the month at 7:30 p.m. We're not changing that. We are schematically changing when, if we have a workshop. If we have a workshop.
I would suggest, just as a matter of protocol, the next meeting, just do a resolution regarding the workshops.
Okay.
Since you did announce workshops at the organizational meeting, just say,
Good point, Charlie.
in the future, we're gonna be doing this, whatever you decide.
So with the June 20th board meeting, or the July 3rd, which is a Wednesday, by the way, Wednesday, July 3rd, unless you guys want to come in on July 4th. And then we have our next regular town board meeting after that on Thursday, July 18th. Somewhere over those next 3 regular board meetings, we do a resolution that basically just articulates this is what we're doing as of August 1st workshop. I will tell you this, something we've been really committed to the last few years is, our newspaper, our legal newspaper is the Webster Herald. We can talk till the cows come home whether a newspaper is the right medium for where your town board agendas and that goes. But that's the law, right, Charlie? It's been around for 60 years.
Newspaper, correct.
Yes.
And it was a law that was passed when the way that people consumed their news was a newspaper. I know that people don't consume their news as much through newspapers anymore, I don't think I have to tell people that. But the law hasn't changed. So we comply with the law. We send over an agenda for our workshop and or our regular town board meetings, and we've committed to trying to get it into the Webster Herald's Wednesday edition that is 8 days before the meeting. So like, for instance, I would imagine this workshop was in the Wednesday, June 5th edition of the Webster Herald, which people get in the mailbox at their house on Thursday, the 6th and whatever. And that's one of the reasons why we said we can't put the agendas in the Wednesday the day before, because people a lot of times would be like, well, I got home, I got my Webster Herald, I saw something that interested me, and it was for that night. But not to belabor that point, it's something that Kim Doyle in my office, in the supervisor's office, and I have committed to. And every action has a reaction. That puts a lot of pressure on the department heads that, hey, if you got something you want a resolution about, you need to really get it to us about 9 or 10 calendar days before the town board meeting. Or if you want to do a presentation or something at a workshop, same thing, because of how we post it in the newspaper. Now, Bridget Harvey, who is our Director of Communications, will upload to our social media platforms and to our website those town board meeting agendas and those town board workshop agendas. Because we are doing it 8-9 days before the meeting, we reserve the right, as you said, legally to change the agenda, add to it, delete to it. I think, Bridget, we really tried to get by the end of like Tuesday, like 48 hours before the Thursday meeting, we get the final additions to the meeting and or deletions from the meeting. And I know we try not to piecemeal it, that we don't update it every day for 6 days and drive people nuts. And I think we've done a good job of that. So from that standpoint, we already are kind of in a rhythm of how to manage this. So we just would adapt it that, okay, guess what? We don't have a workshop on Thursday, August 15th. There's nothing that the town department heads or outside agencies have said they want to present. We would just do an agenda for a town board meeting at 7:30 that night. Conversely, if we have a workshop, we can kind of move it around as far as 6:30 start or 7 o'clock start, you know. We have that flexibility on the workshop. I don't think we should have that flexibility on the 7:30 start of the regular board meeting. And Patty, you bring up a great point, especially if we have a public hearing that night.
And in the past, we've always had the ability to cancel workshops, and it's not, I don't want to say it's a common occurrence, but occasionally there's nothing going on, and Bridget will publish it several days in advance that there will be no workshop on whatever the date might be. So I don't see how that changes how we handle it at all.
Well, no, and I don't want to take us down the rabbit hole. I can't think of a situation in the last couple of years when we decided in 22 and 23 that we're not going to have a workshop on the second and fourth Thursday of the month. We knew that 8-9 days before that date. We were sending to the Webster Herald.
Yes,
No workshop.
right, yes.
And I can't think of one situation where we sent it to the Webster Herald, no workshop 8 days from now, and changed and scheduled a workshop.
No, not at all.
And I don't think we would do that.
No.
What I'm saying is that we put in there that it's a 6:30 workshop, and we add, after we publish it, another agenda item to that workshop. I don't feel bad about moving maybe that workshop start to 6 p.m. That's, I guess, what I'm trying to say, is that there's flexibility on the workshop to try to time it so that the 7:30 meeting starts on time. Well, it can't start early, right, Charlie? You can't finish your workshop at 7:06 and say, hey, come on, man, let's be efficient, let's start a regular board meeting. That's not legal.
I'll reserve decision, but I'll check it out.
It's
Because
not good form.
No, I agree, it's not good form. And what I was thinking about, and I'll look into this, is whether or not, for example, you could have a public hearing earlier than the 7:30 meeting.
We've done it.
Yeah.
I know that, and by the way, part of this is also, and we talked about this on May 9th, we've done public hearings at workshops that start at 5:30. Criticism has come in, hey, I don't get out of work, I can't come to a public hearing, I would have liked to have spoken. It's a valid criticism. Other criticism is, yeah, you jam in these presentations and, you know, you do them at workshops so that the public can't take the podium for the 5 minutes open to the public. It's a valid criticism. Those things go away when you do the workshop abutted up to a regular town board meeting, because the citizen, and especially if you move the workshop to 6:30, starting earlier at 5:30, you lose a little of that, hey, you started at 5:30, I didn't get out of work. Well, you gave it till 6:30. They can come into the workshop, they listen to everything, they watch the presentations. Maybe the spirit moves them that it's 7:30 for the regular board meeting, they want to take the podium and rip off 5 minutes to talk about maybe what was said at the workshop. So there's a lot of, I don't know, there's a lot of things that are resolved per se by doing it 2 nights a month on the first and third Thursday. And it sounds like,
I think your last comment with respect to people that come for the workshop, and there's an item that's spoken about at the workshop, but they don't have an opportunity to chime in during the workshop, but when the board meeting starts, they can take the podium and comment. They don't have to wait until the next board meeting. So in my analysis of this, there's way more positives than there are negatives, in my opinion anyways.
I agree. The other thing too is it's not set in stone, right? If it doesn't work, we come back and we evaluate what works and what doesn't, and can revisit it.
well,
As long as the board meetings remain the first and third at 7:30.
sure.
If the workshops aren't working, you can always,
It's funny you should say
Modify
that.
that.
You remember when you were on the planning board, and I would come in once a quarter for the quarterly liaison meeting? Well, I just did the last 2 weeks, the quarterly liaison meeting with zoning board and planning board. And one of the topics, we only had 2 agenda items for both of them this time, was, okay, we're 18 months into the 1 meeting a month. How do you think it's working? Here's the stats that we came up with, all this stuff. Part of that was we showed that over 18 months, both boards had 2 special meetings. They reserved the right to schedule a second planning board meeting in that month if the needs are there for it.
Yep.
And so they've done that. But, you know, over 18 months, they've had to do it twice at each board. That's not bad. I would imagine this board will probably have to schedule some special meetings. It's not a fait accompli that starting on August 1st for the next 18 months that we only meet on the first and
Right.
third Thursday of the month. Patty's been on the board the longest. They come up special meetings. Fact. And I don't have any delusion that they won't come up in the future. We'll schedule on a third Thursday of the month for a special board meeting or something. Heck, we've got fifth Thursdays.
We've done it for those, we've done those.
Do they happen 3 times, 4 times?
I don't know how often they happen, but we
Four,
have,
we've had meetings.
we
Four,
have,
right?
we
Yeah.
have 3
Yeah.
special meetings on the fifth.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go on a limb, by the way, and I know you already said it, but I'll repeat it. I think you could have public hearings outside of the 7:30 regular meeting. So in other words, if you wanted to have a public hearing before the regular meeting, you could do that. So, I mean, if it's obviously a matter of high controversy, it would not be unusual, for example, to schedule it on a different day, or
Yeah.
schedule it.
Yeah.
So you could schedule it any time. That's what I'm saying. We usually do it in conjunction with the regular meeting for obvious reasons. But if it's something more wishes that you do it earlier, you do 6:30, 7 o'clock.
Am I incorrect in understanding that you have to set the time that the public hearing will begin?
Yes, yeah, the public hearing, because that's published. So that's a notice. We have,
That is correct,
Yeah.
that once you schedule.
You are correct.
You have to give the time for that public
Correct.
hearing.
Right.
Yes, okay,
so the time and place
yes.
will be scheduled. It has to be published, and yes, and then you're bound by that. Correct.
but you're not bound to the organizational meeting that it's 7:30 on the first and
No,
third,
no.
as long as it's
No,
published
no.
in advance.
And Jennifer, I don't have these stats off the top of my head. We have been mindful of, if we've done a public hearing on a workshop, second or fourth Thursday, I think we've moved the workshop to 7 p.m. It would be dirty cool to start a public hearing at 5:30. I think that's not a good look. You potentially are losing people's ability to come into the room and talk.
Supervisor, you hit it right on the head. It really should be at a convenient time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we don't lose any flexibility in this.
Okay.
So, I was just concerned of bringing this back to the board today because we all have recency bias and whoa, what a meeting last week, huh? 3 hours and 4 minutes, Johnny.
That's okay, it comes after the workshop, so it's fine. It's just an extra little bit, it's fine. Won't happen that often.
I want to point out too what the supervisor did last week, which was actually not only permitted, it was actually a good thing to do, was that he moved that agenda item to the end. Gave people the opportunity to leave because he knew this was of controversy, but also of interest to a very limited number of people. So that is permitted, and it's probably a good idea to do something like that. So.
We just should have moved the fence up there.
Kim and I
Yeah.
talked on Friday, and,
Poor man.
Kim felt terrible. I'm like, why are you feeling terrible? We're learning as we go along, and we'll
Because
It goes up to
we'll
the.
The
remember that.
individual was very gracious.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, anyway, all right.
Probably interesting.
Well, I think we have our marching orders from Charlie, and Dolly, you will either queue up for your last regular board meeting on June 20th, or Deneen's first meeting on the 3rd or 18th of July to do some semblance of a resolution, just to formalize it up, that starting on August 1st, it's the board's plan to do first and third Thursday workshop, 6:30, regular town board meeting, 7.
Okay.
All right,
Yeah.
well,
Thank you.
on that note, we are done. And put that into the stats that this was a 44-minute workshop.
With the potential of being half an hour.
You dirty red. All right, so let's see here. Where